Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm. This is Wisdom of the Sages, your daily yoga podcast. I'm your host, Raghunath, here with senior educator at the Bhakti Center, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to our show. Welcome to our Srimad Bhagavatam show. First time historically. It's a 5,000-year-old book we're studying. First time historically, the book has been turned into a show for your benefit and for just to entertain myself. We've turned it into a show. And we're here with our community-supported radio, our community-supported audience who follows us on patreon.com/wisdom of the sages. Thank you, everybody, for your support. But also we have a live group that follows us every morning. Right now, we have about 103 people. We do this every morning at 5 a.m. Eastern time. And we have weekends. We sleep in until 8 a.m. So we get the Californians in on that because it's ridiculous to get these. You only get a couple crazy Californians who show up here at 2 in the morning, like Christina. Yeah, we appreciate you. But they're strangely addicted. Welcome to our little cult family, where we're all slightly addicted to hearing spiritual messages on a regular basis. You know, Kaustubh, I know you did this weekend also, but I gave a class for somebody's teacher training last night.
Okay.
And
who's teacher training?
It was our friend Cindy Lunsford from Nashville.
From Nashville. Oh, cool.
And she has a great studio called Yoga Soul, which it's a good name. It's like 5 minutes from getting a lawsuit from me for copyright infringement. But other than that, I love her.
It has the word soul in it.
Anything with soul is mine. I own it.
Right.
You know who owns it? You know who owns soul, you know who owns Super Soul more than me?
That I know.
Oprah.
Oprah, yeah, but that's not even
Oprah.
But that's just soul. It's not even super soul. You got no rights on that, Roger.
Guess what? You know who has rights on it more than even Oprah is Soul Cycle. They like copyrighted everything with soul in it. It's unbelievable. And their lawyers have deep pockets. They'll fight this thing forever. I've been using Super Soul since like 1995.
Okay.
Give me a break, guys. I'm going to have to go to battle with Oprah.
So how did it go?
Oh, so anyway, the point was,
before you go off on
we're just going on an Oprah rant right now.
Yeah.
The point was, when do you hear yoga philosophy in your life? You hear it in a teacher training. And how much do you hear? You hear about it for like a few hours. And then it's like back to up dog and the shoulder above the wrist and straighten your arms and fan your fingers and press down under your index finger knuckle. And the whole idea of yoga philosophy is put way back on the back burner. And in our yoga practice, we learn a condiment of the greater meal. A condiment. Like ketchup is a condiment, right?
Yeah,
it's
but you don't want to
meal.
just, okay, I got you. I understand.
Right?
Okay, I think I understand the analogy here.
My point is, come on over for lunch. I'm serving ketchup. It's
Right.
weird. It's weird if I was to say that. No, don't worry. There'll be mustard also. No, it's like, I want a meal, man. And so we've taken these thin facets, these thin slices of the yoga pie, and we brought them to these new heights of like, it's all about this. And we dice. It's like, here's the deal. I'm driving from New York to LA. That's like the big picture of the yoga system. I'm making this big traversing across the great land of the United States. And I'm spending thousands of hours of how to hold the key, to put the key in the ignition.
Another brilliant analogy.
Like that one? I've been working on it.
Okay.
Right? Just drive the freaking car. Drive the car. And this is what goes on. And what we've done is yoga has become, and it's a new thing, we've started to analyze the key. oftentimes when we even speak about yoga anatomy, we're not even talking about yoga anatomy. It's what Westerners have brought to yoga in modern times. Like we talk about basically like physical therapy, which I think physical therapy is a great thing. I think it's good for it. I think it's important to know, but there's a whole subtle body stuff that people never touch, marma points and meridians. And these are all sort of like yogic, the concept of the Sushumna up through the spine and the lotus and the skull. These are all things that's yoga anatomy, but we've sort of morphed it into our Western thinking. And don't get me wrong, Westerners are bright and they're smart and they have a lot to do and they're good.
Nothing against Westerners.
Nothing against Westerners. But it sort of drifted a little off course, like sort of like a ship that didn't anchor, and it's sort of drifting around. And now it's become a whole different beast. So anyway, yoga, wisdom of the sages, I think one of our initial things was for myself, because for me, I like accountability. And in the morning time, I like to wake up and get some direction in my life, because I'm so dented in this world that my default is kooky. My default is like drive the car right off the cliff. So I like on a regular basis to hear truth. And that's why there is a traditional sadhana. And our sadhana means on a regular basis, we hear truth, and it keeps the car on the road, so to speak. And if you're unfamiliar with how this whole thing started, me and Mara would regular study the Bhagavatam and a couple others. And then when we would just have a spiritual reading in the morning at the farm. And then we decided to go through the whole Bhagavatam. And then Kaustubha would just come in. We'd start to do it live. And then Kaustubha, because he's so insightful and deeply wise, I'd say, what do you think about that, Kaustubha? And Kaustubha would give some insight. And then we just like to talk. And so then it just became both of us leading the class. So we started January 1st doing this podcast. And I tell you, hearing that Bhagavatam every day is so powerful. But initially started for my own accountability to show up. And it wasn't because I feel like I have so much to give the world. It wasn't because I'm so gracious and because I'm so pathetic that I really need to take this in on a regular basis. Otherwise, we get lost in this world. And
Yoga Sutras speak about how when something's done with the right determination or devotion over a long period of time and without interruption, like regularly, day after day after day after day, then that practice becomes firmly rooted. And it's funny that you brought this up, because yesterday I was just curious and I counted how many days, because of the whole lockdown. Like sometimes we used to miss a day or so because you were traveling.
Yeah.
But because we've been locked down, there's been no missed days. So I was like, how many days have we gone in a row? I think we've gone 57. This is like our 58th day in a row. And I was it was great having Genevieve on the show yesterday.
It was sweet.
I was talking to her and about like what she's doing every day online with her kirtan now, also from the lockdown. And she said, yeah, I didn't know what I was getting into because like I got it started. And then suddenly like, 600 people there tuning in. And now I'm like, I can't skip a day anymore. Like I've kind of locked into this thing. And I feel like that with us too, we kind of got locked into this, but this is the best lockdown, right? To get locked down into like daily hearing of Bhagavatam.
I'm going to miss pandemic life besides the actual pandemic that's happening, which I want to throw out prayers, but I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss it.
Only just down in the Bhagavatam and you benefit from it.
Yeah, there's a lot of benefit here. I feel, it's this concept of direction. The Bhagavatam assists us. The idea is that we have to check out. Tell me what you think of this analogy.
All right.
We're driving across
the day.
Huh?
Number 3 for the day. This one involves a car.
It's important. It involves a car because we're on a journey, New York to LA.
Well, you already did that one. Are you sure?
Did I do that one? Not today.
Just a second ago you did, but maybe it's a different one. Go ahead.
Different one. New York to LA. We're on a journey.
Can we go somewhere else this time? Like San Francisco?
New York to Portlandia. New York to Portland, and we're going. And there's a lot of beautiful things to see along the way. There is Scranton, wonderful place, charming place, Scranton, Pennsylvania, right? The Grand Canyon.
That's out of the way.
But nothing like it. It's not on the way. We're going a
Roundabout.
exotic route. We stop off in Vegas. Nothing like Vegas. Reno's not like Vegas, right? Atlantic City's not like Vegas. And then you get to Portland, okay?
Yeah.
At each one of these places, you could dive deep into Scranton history. You could get into the Grand Canyon. You could camp there. You could take a mule. You could, study.
Scranton is particularly tempting to
and then
lost in.
And then there's, and then Vegas, etc. But the idea is that each one of these, when we study Vedic arts, each one of the Vedic arts, you got dance, you got music, you've got, and even in music, you have different musical instruments. People go to get their PhD in South Indian drum and stuff like that. It's like each one of these things you could just study. Music, art, Ayurveda, Shilpa Shastra, logic, debate, Sanskrit, astrology, cooking. I thought you were going to throw some at me too, but whatever, right?
No, you're fine. Yeah, you covered a wide.
So anyway, each one of these, you can go so deep in it, but you can forget the essence of where it's going. And this is why I like the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam zooms out and gives us the bigger map. No. Yeah, each place is cool. Scranton's cool. But look where you're supposed to be going here. And if we just get caught up on, say, fitness with yoga, or our health benefits with yoga, or our organic cleansed body, I've done panchakarma for 30 days on khichdi and ghee. Big deal. If your organic body, if I'm using my organic, ripped, strong, fit body just to be cool and impress you, big deal. That's materialism. If I'm doing, Vedic dancing just to impress you, big deal. So it's not just like art for the sake of art, and medicine and healing for the sake of healing. And it's not dance for the sake of dance. It's actually woven in deeply in a culture where I'm supposed to shed the ego, where the mind becomes peaceful, so I can see the self under the fake self. And so I can traverse on this entire path. That's why I like this stuff.
Right.
What do you think of that, Car? What do you think of that analogy?
I think it was great. And it's a good point, because it is easy to get, if you hear this repeatedly, it can start to sink in that this is the essence, that this is what everything's related to, that this is what it all builds to, that this is what ultimately the mind is meant to focus on. And really it comes down to this very simple point, like at the conclusion of the Bhagavatam, just like, you know what? I've been messing around a million different ways in a million different lifetimes, trying to find pleasure in life. And really, I just want to reconnect myself, reconnect with God and let go of it all. And whatever helps us come to that point, we accept. And if it slows us down, we let it go.
Nice way to put it. Nice way to put it. Like my chutter today?
Very, you got that sadhu profile working for you.
It's regal. It's regal.
Okay.
I like it. Okay, you want to dive into the sweetness here, sir?
I do, and we're starting a new chapter today, right? We should mention, because now we got this whole thing going on. I think it's a really good way to work, is that we got Saturdays is questions and answer day.
Yeah.
Sunday is interview day. Hopefully we'll get someone every Sunday.
Yeah.
And then we got Monday through Friday is like 5 straight days of Bhagavatam. And I think we can, I think what we're doing is great, but I think also because when we're just going random, like we don't know if we're going to read 1 verse or 10 verses in a day. And I think we could get kind of like lost, not following the thread very, very well.
Sure.
So I think if we break it into these 5-day segments, we can give a little introduction about what we're going to study this week on Monday. And we can kind of wrap it up and do a quick little review on Friday and handle Bhagavatam chunk by chunk. One kind of,
I think it's
after another.
I think that's important. And another thing, Kaustubha, is I think there are times in the Bhagavatam where it just gets too heady. Not that it's not all, but it's just
I thought it was like a banana and it's all sweet. What
it
are you
is
talking
sweet.
about?
It is sweet, but sometimes it's so sweet that you can't eat it. No,
I think the point is
that's a bad analogy.
Because when
you break down what's those parts of the Bhagavatam, they're just like, it goes on for chapters and chapters.
Yeah.
And it's hard to even,
because we'll spend months and months on it that way. It's fine if you're reading it and you spend an hour with it, but if you're spending months and months on it, then, weeks on it.
description. What is that one? Description of the.
Okay.
Anyway.
Okay.
Anyway, fortunately, we have Kaustubha here. He's gonna
No,
guide
we
us
got
through
you.
this.
So,
Also,
yeah,
go
go ahead.
No, you go.
You.
Please, I'm serious.
Okay. Well, I was about to launch into it, so.
Okay. Well, I don't want to say it's Makeover Monday. For anyone struggled with your week last week, don't struggle. It's Makeover Monday. We can rebirth ourselves each Monday. If you had any problems or any issues last week, or you missed the show and felt guilty, it's Makeover Monday. We got the time. We can rebirth ourselves each Monday. So yes, there is Saturday and Sunday, and there's Makeover Monday, and there's Arranged Marriage Wednesday.
Okay, you're putting a positive spin on the Monday thing.
Yes.
I get it. Okay, so we're gonna let's see how this works. But what I'm thinking is that we could read chapter 10 this week in 5 days. Let's see if that works. If it doesn't work smooth, that's cool. But that may be possible that it works smooth like that. And this Bhishma just passed away, and now Krishna's about to leave. He spent some time with the Pandavas, after that, just kind of, just to get them started and support them and so on. But then he's going to leave, and he's going to go back to where he lives in Dwarka, which is on the western coast. The Pandavas live in Hastinapur, which is like Delhi. Krishna lived in Dwarka, which is the west coast. Gujarat. And so now he's going to go there. And I've mentioned before, and I think you and I both had this kind of feeling that, like, years ago when we used to read Bhagavatam, we were really more maybe we're maybe more involved in the plot, and what's happening. And then these big sections of prayers come up, and we'll be like, okay, these prayers are there, and a little bit, let's get back to the story.
Sure.
But nowadays, I feel like the story is just framing these prayers, and the prayers are just completely, rich with insights and beauty and so on. And so this chapter there's some introduction where we're going to hear about what life was like under the rule of Maharaj Yudhishthir. Some important points really relevant today about how if the leaders and the people are living in harmony with nature, then you're blessed with all kinds of gifts of nature and you live happily. And if you don't, then you screw everything up and everyone suffers, which is kind of what our world is going through right now. And so there's that. And then there's some verses about how the power of Krishna's attraction and how it melts the heart. But then what happens is, as Krishna's leaving, these ladies are all up on the rooftops, like watching him go, and they begin to speak, and they're talking to one another. And it's said that their talks of these ladies they weren't scholars, they weren't philosophers, but it says their talks were more enchanting than the hymns of the Vedas, right? Just sort of like these pinnacle of, it would seem to be pinnacle of all devotional expression. But these ladies had such devotion that their talks were like even more elevated. And then so this chapter frames the talkings of these ladies, but their talking is like analyzed by great scholars and so on for its depth of devotion and insights. So we're framing that. We're going to get to that this week.
You are like the transcendental Cliff Notes, my friend.
Well, I got Cliff Notes that I study. They help.
If you're from America, we have these things. If you don't want to read an entire book for school, they have Cliff Notes. You read the whole book in like 20 pages. You have to be a real American cheater like me. Who knows about these things? Okay, so let's dive in. Yeah. We start the Bhagavatam reading these beautiful introduction prayers. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshvabhadareshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. In loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Those are appreciations for the Bhagavatam, for the teachers, for the sages. It's a nice way to start your morning, in appreciation. We try to make these prayers not perfunctory. We try to make them heartfelt every time we say them, even though we might say them. Ritual with heart is okay. Ritual it becomes ritualistic after a while, where they have no meaning. So in Bhakti, we want to keep that meaning behind the rituals. So,
Yes.
Sir.
Canto 1, Chapter 10, entitled Departure of Lord Krishna for
Dwarka. Okay. Text 1. Shaunaka Muni. So Shaunaka is the head of the sages inquiring from the main sage on this holy place where they're having this spiritual gathering. And so one of the head sages asked this question. After killing all his enemies who desired to usurp his rightful inheritance, how did the greatest of all religious or dharmic men, Yudhisthira, assisted by his brothers, rule his subjects? Surely he could not freely enjoy his kingdom with unrestricted consciousness. Sutta Goswami, he's the speaker to all these liberated souls. Sutta Goswami said, Lord Sri Krishna, who is the personality of Godhead, who is the maintainer of the entire world, became pleased after reestablishing Maharaj Yudhisthira in his own kingdom, and after restoring the Kuru dynasty, which has been exhausted by the bamboo fire of anger.
That bamboo fire is mentioned sometimes because it's said that these forest fires begin because the bamboo rubs against, like the wind blows and the bamboo rubs against each other.
Friction. It's interesting, huh? These old analogies are sort of interesting, huh?
Yeah. So here it's saying that I believe what it's saying is that in one sense, sometimes people blame God or something for this kind of thing happening, but he had nothing to do with it. It was just us being bamboo rubbing against each other that sets it off.
Sure. By the way, if you're not aware of this, Yudhisthira, who they're speaking about, is Arjuna from the Bhagavad Gita's older brother, Maharaj Yudhisthira, and he's set up to be the emperor now. Maharaj Yudhisthira, after being enlightened by what was spoken by Bhishma Dev and Lord Sri Krishna, the infallible, engaged himself in matters of perfect knowledge because all his misgivings were eradicated. Thus, he ruled over the earth and seas and was followed by his younger brothers.
So his misgivings were eradicated because Krishna brought him out to hear Bhishma Dev, and Bhishma spoke to him. And so with those instructions, now he feels prepared to do his duty, to do his service.
During the reign of Maharaj Yudhisthira, the clouds showered all the water that the people needed, and the earth produced all necessities of man in profusion. Due to its fatty milk bag and cheerful attitude, the cow used to moisten the grazing ground with milk.
Nothing like a cheerful cow.
The rivers, the oceans, the hills, the mountains, the forests, the creepers, and active drugs in every season paid their tax quota to the king in profusion.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of talk about this in Bhagavatam in different places, but there's always this idea is being shared. It's something that we're meant to catch on to, right? Like our mind is supposed to say, oh, I get it. That if we live relatively simply and are happy with the gifts of nature, that we can live happily together. And nature will provide all that we need to be happy. But if we decide, I want to live another way, right? I want more than that. I can't be happy without more than that. I need cars. I need jet planes. I need computers. I need, television shows. I need all these different things. Once society starts moving in that direction, and loses touch with its spiritual foundation, then there's going to be some kickback.
There's some collective karma that we're all going to get just being part of it. whether we like it or not, whether we don't believe in it. Just like a lot of times people don't believe in what's going on with, say, fracking. Like, I'm not into fracking. At the same time, am I actually doing, or they don't believe in drilling, offshore drilling or something like that. The problem is we're still in that matrix and we're still playing that game. So as much as I want to protest, unless I become almost like a recluse, I'm in it. And there's some collective karma. There's collective karma when the leader of your country makes a certain choice, because I'm also in that country. It's sort of scary to think. And therefore, the leaders were supposed to be trained in Dharma as well.
From youth.
From childhood. Yeah. They're actually trained how to lead. But it's just not it's not leadership with, like a leadership handbook. It'd be leadership with woven in with Dharma or ethics, morality, when to exert force, when to pull back and exert compassion. Very interesting.
With ethics, right?
Yeah.
The ethics were a big part of the training, and this kind of understanding, this kind of faith that if we live a good life, if we live a simple life, that we can find happiness in a simple, natural life. And then the leaders are meant to support that, right? To make sure that we're not going off course.
Sure. And the leaders also had a dharma to do, as well as everybody in the kingdom. And the idea also was that whatever we're creating in society, it's for ultimate liberation for everybody wherever they're at. They should also feel connected wherever they are as well. And so you'll see all classes of people, not that the goal is just to, okay, how can I get the newer iPhone? How can I upgrade it's not just like economic development. It's liberation. That's the goal. Right now we feel like I made it out of the ghetto. Now I'm successful. There is a type of happiness that people have without being, without just having tons of stuff. Matter of fact, it's due to like the influence of people selling me stuff and commercials, and it's just pushing me to consume more and more. And we feel, and this is what we've created, especially in this consumption culture, is I will become happy from getting this. Instead of just, sometimes when we go through India, these simple villages, you see a lot of joy with people who have very little in just the way they play, the way the children play. Every parent knows this. You buy your kid this big, electric, whatever, you get a big game in a box, and they don't even play with the game. They play with the box. So the kids just want to play, and we just want to consume, and we think that will make somebody happy. So there will be a constant push to do less, to take it back. And as Kaustubha, you're saying, it's important, like keep it simple.
Imagine if the leaders and the population understood this together, right? Because what you're saying is so important, that we're under the illusion, if that's on steroids because of all the advertising and the kind of culture that we're living in, that we'll be happy when we get certain products, right? And we judge our leaders, and the leaders know they're judged on the state of the economy, which is based on how much we consume, right? So as long as people are running into stores and buying lots of stuff, and that stuff is being produced, and the stuff is being transported, and the stuff is, it's being sold, and everyone gets a little more money. Well, at least some people get more money, right? And the stock market goes up, and the numbers look good, and unemployment goes down, and we say, oh, the leaders are doing a good job. But really, we're driving the entire population all over the edge of a cliff, but we think we're doing great. So really as people, we need to understand our happiness doesn't come from consuming all this stuff. Our happiness will come when we're living. It comes we need to find our happiness in simple, natural ways. And we need leaders that are going to support that, the leaders that can get that. And, it means our entire society needs to be re-educated, Are
you talking of a coup?
A coup.
You want a coup to happen right now?
Revolution.
This is where this whole show is leading towards.
Well, it says in the Bhagavatam that it's meant to create a revolution, but a revolution in the consciousness of humanity, right?
Oh, really? We just can't overturn. We can't overturn police cars and break windows. That's not going to help.
You know, when I go outside nowadays, I got a surgical mask, and then I take a bandana and I kind of wrap it around like as a second layer. And I'm looking at myself and saying, all I need is a Molotov cocktail right now to complete this outfit.
Yeah, it's got that animal liberation front look to it, doesn't it?
Yeah. But this is what Bhagavatam is meant to do. And this is what Prabhupada was trying to do, was like saying, hey, we need to get out there and we need to speak and we need to remind people and help people understand that happiness doesn't come from material progress. Happiness comes from simple living, high thinking. So let's try to do that. Let's remind each other and let's try to understand ourselves and let's try to live it and exemplify it. And then people will catch on.
That's our hashtag today. Simple living, high thinking. Anybody need a new tattoo? We got one for you.
That's a good tattoo.
Simple living, high thinking.
Okay. And there's some nice stuff from the commentary here. Maybe you want to read? Maybe?
Sure. Here's a
text 5.
Text 5. How about this? There is enough of everything by the will of the Lord, and we can make proper use of things to live comfortably without enmity between man and man, or man and animal, or man and nature. The control of the Lord is everywhere, and if the Lord is pleased, every part of nature will be pleased. The river will flow profusely to fertilize the land. Perfect. The oceans will supply sufficient quantities of minerals, pearls, jewels.
Perfect.
The forest will supply sufficient wood, drugs, because there's a drug dealer living in the woods.
All the drugs you need, they'll just come like that.
Just supporting that drug cartel in the woods. The river will flow profusely, fertilize. Okay. Drugs and vegetables and the seasonal changes will effectively help produce fruits and flowers in profuse quantity.
Seasons are getting messed up.
Right? The artificial way, by the way, it snowed like twice this week.
In mid-April.
Yeah. The artificial way of living, depending on factories and tools, can render so-called happiness only to a limited number at the cost of millions.
That means we don't need a weed whacker, all these different things, right?
Yeah.
People just used to.
I've got a weed whacker, by the way.
See, throw it out right now, man.
Are you telling me I got to get rid of my weed whacker? I really love it. Since the energy, well, what happened was when we got Super Soul Farm, I was like, we've got a huge like meadow in the front yard. So I was like, how the hell am I going to cut the lawn? So I bought a scythe. Do you ever use a scythe?
No, I have not used a scythe.
Like a scythe is, if you don't know what a scythe is, like a Grim Reaper type of thing. And I just went out there and started scything everything. I was like, oh, I get it. This is why people didn't go to the gym, because they were scything things. It's tough.
Well, I'll tell you my pet peeve. You ready?
Is it about me and my scythe?
No,
it's got anything to do with me, your pet peeve.
No.
Okay.
It's these leaf blowers,
You know what? Leaf blowers have taken it to the next level of, I'm trying to control the environment.
It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
I don't like leaf blowers.
Big machine that's burning, petroleum fuel, and it's making a ton of noise, and you're blowing a few leaves around, and you could have just as easily done it with a broom.
Could have done it with a broom.
And actually like made you a little bit more healthy, and you're just creating this total noise pollution to blow a few leaves. It blows my mind how someone could actually strap that thing on their body and do it. It's like, is this for real?
Sure. I mean, if you really want to get mad at landscaping, let's just take it to the Californians and the Arizonians. Instead of xeriscaping their whole lawn, we got the idea of a lawn from Britain, and we imported that concept of a lawn, and it works pretty good on the East Coast. But when you take that same conception to Arizona, or you take it to California, which is a desert also, and then you try Southern California, and then you try to have that British lawn there, you get such an incredible waste of water. It's ridiculous. And
so what are they supposed to do?
Not have a lawn. You landscape with what is natural.
Like cactus and stuff like that?
succulents or things that can grow. I mean, California's got many, many different, microclimates depending on where you are. It's got a Mediterranean climate. It's got a desert climate, depending where you are.
You see, Christina Om Namo Shivaya, she took out the grass and put in aloe and cacti.
There you go. There you go.
She's on it.
Xeriscaping, it's called.
And she probably doesn't even need a weed whacker.
Yeah.
Or a leaf blower.
No.
All right.
I've also recently found out that earthworms aren't native to the United States. Did you?
Thank you for sharing that.
Thought I'd share that little piece of wisdom.
Okay. But let's get back to this commentary.
Yeah, this is a good commentary.
The artificial way of living.
You read. I like
okay. The artificial way of living, depending on factories and tools, can render so-called happiness only to a limited number. This is important. Only to a limited number at the cost of millions. Right? Isn't that exactly where we're at?
Yes.
Since the energy of the mass of people is engaged in factory production, the natural products are being hampered. And for this, the mass is unhappy. Without being educated properly, the mass of people are following in the footsteps of the vested interests by exploiting natural reserves, and therefore there is acute competition between individual and nation, right? Because we're not happy with the simple, we fight over oil, right? We build a world that's based around oil, and there's a limited reserve of it, and then how much fighting, how much destruction, how much pain caused over fighting over oil.
Over oil. It's amazing. It's when you take a step back, you're like, what have we done? On a regular basis, that's a mantra flowing from my mouth. What have we done? What have we created?
What is that Talking Head song? Oh my God, what have we done?
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes you go back and listen to a band and you're like, wow, that was pretty insightful. That was 30 years ago. Yeah, Talking Heads.
This is Prabhupada writing like 60 years ago.
Yeah, it's
right
pretty
on it.
It's pretty impressive. That's like 1967 or something.
No, earlier. This is before he came to America.
Oh, this is from
first
the
canto.
First. Okay. Yeah, this is from sitting in Vrindavan writing this book.
Yeah.
Okay.
Text 6.
Text 6. Because of the kings having no enemy, the living beings were not at any time disturbed by mental agonies, diseases, or excessive heat or cold. Isn't it interesting that the king has some integral, this is a peculiar concept to buy, but the king, by his behavior, is somehow has an integrated relationship with the weather and with the elements. You want to explain that?
Well, yeah.
No, I don't want to.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a big concept, but the idea was, I mean, there's a few concepts that are related that are expressed in Bhagavatam, or expressed in the Vedic literature, and it highlighted in Prabhupada's commentaries. But the idea was that humanity in general, exactly what we've been discussing, when we say, I am grateful and I will be satisfied with the gifts of nature, then we kind of live happily. And when we start to when we start to exploit and abuse nature, then there's the kickback.
Yeah, it's not so far-fetched, actually.
It's practical.
It's practical.
We're living it right now.
The earth rebels.
It rebels.
And so a king or a leader who's not exploiting, in one sense, then you get natural reciprocation from the elements.
Yeah. There you go. Simple way to say it.
That's simple. It's a simple thing.
It's a simple thing.
The leader of the country is responsible for the weather. Okay.
And it says, it also mentions, and again, this is always mentioned about Yudhishthira, that he's called Ajata Satru. And that's mentioned here by exactly Ajata Satru. But
right?
No
a man who has no enemies.
He has no enemies. So that's the kind of leader we need. Someone that doesn't have biases and hatred towards communities of people or other nations, that actually is seeing the soul within everyone, seeing God within the heart of everyone. You need a leader like that.
Well, it doesn't mean that people won't hate you either.
That may happen, but still,
right? You could be the greatest guy in the world. And you might get some guy who just hates your guts.
Well, that happened to Yudhishthira, right?
Happened to everybody. Jesus, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whenever people do even great things, people will hate them, but they don't hate. They don't even hate the haters. Don't hate the haters. That's our message today.
Don't hate the haters. Okay.
Don't hate. Love the haters. You gotta love them.
Love them up.
Love the
So
haters.
there's some nice stuff in this commentary too. You want to give that a read?
Sure. And 6.
Yeah, to be nonviolent to human
I like
beings.
this one. Yeah, to be nonviolent to human beings, and to be a killer or enemy of the poor animals is Satan's philosophy.
Yeah. Bringing out some of his Christian training, right? From
well, the Indians went to these British schools too.
Yeah.
Prabhupada did. Prabhupada went to British, right? Scottish Churches College. It's like a British
Scottish Churches College. Yeah.
It was like a, Victorian English school. In this age, there is enmity.
This point, Prabhupada's going to bring it up again and again and again. And it's something to really think about when we look at the current state of the world right now. To be nonviolent, it's great to be nonviolent to human beings, right? If we could get there, we'd be making a lot of progress. But to think that we only need to be nonviolent to human beings, but to be a killer of the poor animals, right?
Yeah. I was saying this in the class yesterday, in my teacher training class. It's like we've created like the mind of a sociopath, where one animal sits on my lap, one animal I comb, one animal's my best friend, one animal's I give a name to, I snuggle with, I kiss the animal.
Yeah.
And the other animal across the street is a commodity. It's a thing. It's soulless. It's bought and sold and used.
To be tortured and killed.
And you have to compartmentalize your brain, and it creates this sort of split personality, almost like a sociopath, where a person can murder somebody and then go out to tea and have a tea with someone else and compartmentalize their brain. And there's some laws in America that if you were to put a animal in a car and leave the windows up and it dies, you could go to do prison time or get an incredible fine, because this being has a soul or has some inherent worth. But this other being, it's not like all the beings we're killing are ugly, and because sometimes there's that prejudice and ooh, a bug, ooh, a cockroach. A cow is beautiful. A lamb is beautiful. A pig is beautiful. I'm not saying, but everything actually has inherent worth and value and deserves some type of dignity. It's tough, and I get it, because you might have a ant infestation in your house or something like that. Can I share something?
But it's
slightly humiliating with you.
Okay. Yes.
If you don't mind, and this is a big confession to everybody on the show here, and I just thought I'd share it. I was thinking about sharing it about a week ago, but in the name of bulk food for the pandemic, buying a lot of bulk food.
Yeah.
We have this laundry room where we keep a lot of the bulk food. I noticed a moth, and I was like, oh man, I hope there's not a moth in here. And I was like, oh man. And sure enough, in bulk food, you get some larvae. Yeah. And I tell you, I got a moth infestation in this one room. Yeah. And it's driving me crazy. And every day I'm in there with a broom trying to get these moths. And I'm thinking, what am I doing? I'm like the, the Mussolini, Joseph Stalin, this killing moths. Or what am I doing? This is against everything I believe in. But I don't, because moths can ruin everything in your home. They can go into all your clothes and they multiply. I didn't know what to do. That's my confession. I feel I feel murderous.
We've had the same thing.
My kids were like, what are you doing killing all the moths? And I was like, you don't know. You don't know what they can do.
This is what you do. I'll tell you what you do.
We
had the same thing because we were buying food from bulk bins, and we also got some moths.
What do you do? Yeah.
So my wife, she would take a little plastic cup with a top, and she'd go around and I would make fun of her. I'd pick up the cups and I'd walk around like this, but she would catch them and don't put them out the window.
There's a lot of moths.
Okay. But in any case, this is the real important thing. And this is what Prabhupada's driving us to a lot. It's the slaughterhouses. He was trying to get a point across to society that we need to end these slaughterhouses. Right?
Yeah, it's a good point.
It's going to destroy us karmically. It's going to destroy our health. You know, we're all sitting inside right now, right? All of these diseases, they're, you know, and all of them, but so many of them are, you know, these pandemics are connected to animal killing and to slaughterhouses and so on.
At the time of Maharaj Yudhisthira, there were no different nations, although there were different subordinate states.
You missed an important sentence.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The reaction.
The reaction of the poor animals is being forced.
No, actually, even before that, in this age.
In this age, there is enmity towards poor animals, and therefore the poor creatures are always anxious. The reaction of poor animals is being forced on human society, and therefore there is always the strain of cold or hot war between men, individually, collectively, or nationally.
That's the collective karma you were speaking of.
Well, I just said that. At the time of Maharaj Yudhisthira, there were no different nations, although there were different subordinate states. The whole world was united, and the supreme head, being trained king like Yudhisthira, kept all the inhabitants free from anxiety, disease, and excessive heat and cold. They were not only economically well-to-do, but also physically fit and undisturbed by supernatural power. There we go. Supernatural powers again. By enmity from other living entities and by disturbance of bodily and mental agonies. We've created a lot of mental agony, haven't we?
It's just our lifestyle. We're just begging for it, you know?
We're begging for it.
Yeah. We need to re-spiritualize
I need to reread that purport a few dozen times.
Yeah. All
okay.
Right.
Number 7.
Let's try to do this.
Yeah.
Oh, no, let's go ahead and read the next few verses and discuss. And I think text 13 we can. 9 and 10 they have some great. Anyway, just read. Let's see what happens.
Do me a favor. You read this one. I'm going to cue up the closing song so I can make it.
Right.
That's life without an executive producer.
All right. Okay. So text 7. Sri Hari, Lord Sri Krishna, resided at Hastinapur for a few months to pacify his relatives and please his own sister Subhadra. So Krishna had a sister, Subhadra. She lived with him in Dwarka. And one day, Krishna suggested, hey, I got a great idea. Why don't you marry my sister, right? You're muted, Raghu.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. And there's a great pastime that comes later in 10th canto about how that all came about.
Yeah, Krishna isn't it great? Krishna's got a sister. It's so cool. Got an older brother, sister.
Yeah. Afterwards, when the Lord asked permission to depart, and the king gave it, the Lord offered his respects to Maharaj Yudhisthira by bowing down at his feet, and the king embraced him. After this, the Lord, being embraced by others and receiving their obeisances, got into his chariot. And there's something here to be understood, just even in this simple verse, right? And it has to do with social etiquette, that Krishna is younger than Yudhisthira. And even though he's Krishna, right? Like even Krishna, though he's like Lord Vishnu, you know, the maintainer of all the world and all this, he bows down to Yudhisthira because it's the proper etiquette, because he's my elder. And Yudhisthira reciprocates with affection, with like with the affection of an elder, of a superior. So respect goes up and affection, you know, comes down. And then it says, you know, it mentions how he was embraced by others and received others in obeisances. That means Bhima and Arjuna, who were relatively the same age as Krishna, they embraced like friends. And Nakula and Sahadev, who were younger than Krishna, they offered their obeisances to Krishna.
There's a hierarchy.
There's a hierarchy. There's a pecking order.
There's a pecking order.
But it's a pecking order with culture and respect.
Yeah, it's a cultured pecking. You don't. This is the point. Tell me if this is where you're going. There is a hierarchy. There is an order, but you don't use your position in that order to like crush those underneath you. You're gracious to those who are underneath you, and you're appreciative of those who have gone before you. And with your equals, you embrace them as friends. You don't have enmity towards your friends. We can't artificially get rid of any hierarchy in this world. there is differences. We can't be one sort of, what's the word?
Homogenous.
Sort of like homogenous being. We're all different. We can't find our sameness, our connection on a bodily platform. We're different.
Yeah.
Somebody's smarter. Kaustubha's smarter.
No.
Someone's better looking. Someone's stronger than me. We're not the same. We're not the same at all. But what ties us together, which is what the Bhagavatam is constantly pushing, is we're all spiritual beings. And that is beyond our material bodies and those material differences. But there is a spiritual connection. That's the thread that keeps us all connected. And it's extended outside the human civilization. It's extended to the animals and to the trees, right? And to the earth itself.
Yeah, that's right. The whole idea is that you mentioned earlier that rituals you can lose the meaning, right? But we want to do it heartfelt, right? Because rituals are meant to address the mind, reshape the mind. They're meant to cultivate a certain consciousness, a certain attitude, a certain disposition. And, like, again, like when you and I were kids and we're into punk rock and all that, like we would throw this whole, the way I used to treat my teachers in school and the things I would say to, it was like, it was like this rebellion. And
can you everybody imagine there for a moment, rebellious young Kaustubha? Because I can't.
You should, because you knew me when I was younger. But the point is that through this culture, we talked last week about how if we can disagree with people, but when we become hateful, right, and disrespectful, putting people down, trying to harm people with our words, then we've been tricked. And the point was that this culture and the etiquette was meant to instill in one a certain type of humanity and dignity and compassion and sensitivity when how we deal with others, and then we can work out our problems, like intelligent human beings, rather than just turn into a big mess of fighting and attacking one another. And that's again exactly where the state of the world is right now.
Character assassination. It's just like hateful towards each other.
Yeah.
What are we going to do with this world, Kaustubha?
We have to re-spiritualize the society through the Srimad Bhagavatam.
That's our hour.
All right.
And you like that gentle segue? I should have been a DJ. Thanks to everybody for joining us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever you are, the others out there that we don't know exist. Hey, if you're an other, send us an email and tell us you're listening. We'd love to get these. Somebody told Kaustubha, the singer of The Mob, one of our old favorite punk bands, The Mob, has been a shout out to Ralph from The Mob.
It's great to hear that you listen. That's awesome.
Yeah. But anyway, he listens to the podcast. Adrian Eagle, one of our favorite musicians, listens to the podcast. Anyway, thanks for everybody for joining us live. And the Zoomers, if you want to join Zoom, you can. We had 109 people. Now we're at 108. Email Mara, our executive producer. wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. And thanks for everybody for joining us. I'm doing a class tonight, 8 p.m. Sweet Baby Krishna. If you're a Patreon member, please join us there. If you'd like to join Patreon, this is a community-supported podcast. You go to patreon.com/wisdomofthesages. Thanks for everybody. And I'm blessed that I get to do these Sweet Baby Krishna classes almost every other night. So I'm really happy for that too. So if you haven't joined us. If you're new to Patreon, you can listen to all the back classes. In the meantime, we're going to wind up and just lip sync this song. Remember, it's Makeover Monday.